Thank you very much for joining us. Now, residents of Ejisu, Besease in the Ashanti region were roused by a scare of a burning diesel tanker on the Accra-Kumasi highway. The fire, which started around 10 p.m. Tuesday, destroyed 5 vehicles and a metal container. Fortunately, no casualty was recorded.
Diesel tanker with registration 11GL 7450 is believed to be traveling from Accra to an unknown location. An eyewitness says he noticed the back tire had caught fire and alerted the driver. Moments later, they saw the vehicle engulfed in flames.
Oh, I'm a driver. I just moved the car to my house. Then I saw the tanker coming. Before I overtake the tanker, I saw fire from the back tire bending. Then I stopped the driver and told me that this is the situation. Then the driver stopped. The time when the driver stopped, then the fire. Yes.
It took firefighters 2 hours to bring the fire under control. DCFO Semeko Fiajo is regional fire officer.
We had the call at 10:30, and quickly we responded. When the first pump arrived, it saw that the whole tanker was engulfed. So we called for assistance, and finally we used 4 engines to bring the fire under control. And basically it took about 2 hours. You know, the fire actually started from the engine compartment. This is a vehicle which was coming from Accra. The direction where it is exactly going, we cannot tell, because the driver is not around to tell us what exactly happened, where he was going. You see, but then we had the distress call, like I indicated, at around 10:30, and within 9 minutes we were right on the scene. So if it were not so, the situation would have been different, because so that it is around a place where we have houses, and there's a story building which almost caught fire, but our men had to use another engine to start cooling it off. And because some vehicles were also parked around, they were also engulfed. But we are happy no life is lost.
This morning, our reporter Himin Teria visited Ejisu Besease. These are some of the pictures he gathered. Now, this year's general election has seen some of the most shocking parliamentary results in Ghana's politics. Popular incumbents who were seen as impossible to defeat were floored by a number of new faces. In Dadikotopon, for instance, NPP's Vincent Odote cleared Ni Amasana Mwale from the seat after the NDC had held that constituency for 12 years. In the central region, a popular face like Hannah Tete in Ewutu Senya also lost her seat. New entrants George Anda and his colleagues this morning shared their views on Joy FM's Super Morning Show.
Everybody within the NPP and for all Ghanaians who voted for change, they must buy into, they must understand the vision of Nana Addo and Alhaji Dr. Bawumia, because they are the people that are leading us to the promised land. And so I don't find any inconsistency in indeed. I mean, if you ask me what are my plans for my constituency, it should fall within one of the policy, or one or two or three of the policy statements. I mean, the two or three big things that I want to do in Ewutisnya West must be consistent with one or two or three of the policy statements or the policy announcements that have been made by the NPP, by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo or Alhaji Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and that means that we are all heading in that same direction. Where I want to do something that is different from where Nana Addo wants to head us into, then that's where there's going to be a problem. But let me backtrack a bit. Let me come to my brother's point that he was making. I think we've gone past the stage where you should try and punch holes inside what something has said without putting it in context. And I think that for us, the new crop of politicians that are coming out there, this is what should guide us. If Nana Addo has said something that is positive, we should acknowledge it. If Nana Addo has said something that is negative, we should address it.
But should we not criticize where we see a loophole or difficulty in understanding?
I don't see any loophole in Nana saying that if you want to make money, don't join his government. Again, within the context, he was talking about the appointment of the special prosecutor. Okay, and Nana Addo has said consistently that he's not going to witch hunt, but he's going to allow the office of the special prosecutor to do their work. And you may be giving an opportunity to serve. You can decide to say that I would accept it, or I don't think that I'm good enough for that position. And Nana Addo has sent the first signal that if your motive is to make money, even if you are given the opportunity to serve, but your motive is to make money, then please decline. Don't even come near me. We are all in this country where we had some government appointees saying that their objective was to make $1 million. Okay, so it's something that's happened. That's what Dr. Oko is saying, that there's a precedent to it. There's a history to it. And indeed, I'm not sure that any of us here would deny that when we go out to the campaign, there's this level of perception that they think that all politicians are the same. You are coming here to come and make money. Okay, so that's why we will take money from you at this time. I mean, I will ask you to pay our children's school fees. We'll ask you to pay our medical bills. We'll ask you to come to our outdoor rings. I mean, anything that we can get from you before you go into office where they think that you are going to steal. If you are so keen to get into office because you want to make money, okay, that is not the way to go. Okay, I'm sure that the three of us here are keen to be able to make an impact in the lives of people that we have seen that we're going to serve. We want to change their current standard of living. We are looking at them to help improve the future of the generations unborn. We have gone in here to serve our country. I don't think there's if I look at the three of us here, I don't see how a cash motivation would be the reason why we would sacrifice leaving our families, we'll sacrifice going into the trenches, we'll sacrifice getting insults from people, we'll sacrifice risking our lives going all the way late at night. For Doc and I, it is our belief in the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Alhaji Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and the ideology of the NPP. It is us looking at what President Kufuor did for the NPP and Ghana during his term, okay, and looking at what the NDC did, and we are saying that never again. We will go to the front line and contribute our quota to make that difference. Okay, you can describe us as youthful politicians, but there's something that we believe in, and for me, one of the things that hit me and pushed me to get into frontline politics was Alhaji Dr. Bawumia saying that he's not convinced that the quality of leadership that we are offering Ghana is what Ghana deserves. And he doesn't believe that the youth of this country should grow up to this level of leadership. My heart skipped a beat because it hit me that, listen, this is not a storybook, this is reality. And I was asking myself, do I want my children to live under this level of arrogance, this level of corruption, this level of economic mismanagement, this level of incompetence? And the answer was no, no, no. And I see now hear Nanado speak. I hear Alhaji Dr. Bahumia speak. I've seen what President Kufuor did, and I'm like, listen, this is the signs are clear. Let me go out there and let me help and make a difference.
You've won. You've won already. And I wonder if you're aware that there are some who think that the reason why you went into the race was because you got a bit upset with Hanatete's tweets about the Occupy Ghana, the Occupy Ghana demonstration.
You mean decided Occupy Flagstaff House?
That's right, Occupy Flagstaff House demonstration. And you decided to go over there and teach her a lesson. Was that part of it?
No, far from it. I mean, I keep on saying that I respect my competition. I don't do things because of competition.
Okay.
I've told you the reason why I went into this. The level of corruption, the level of incompetence, the level of arrogance, the level of economic mismanagement, okay, was terrible.
Now, generally, I respect the choice of Ghanaians. I respect the fact that our democracy is growing, and I admire His Excellency the President more for how far he has carried the process to this point. And we all should be grateful that we are Ghanaians and proud that we have such people leading us at this stage. I was hoping, and I'm sure that is what many of our NDC folks were hoping, that Ghanaians will make a little sacrifice and look to the lasting infrastructure development that His Excellency was championing in education, in energy for growth, in infrastructure generally. It is like what Nkrumah went through, and I am confident that in the shortest possible time, when our hopes of finding jobs quickly, when our hopes of lining our pockets with money are dashed, and we ride on the roads that His Excellency built, and we attend the hospitals that he constructed, and we pick up our children from the schools that he constructed, and then we notice the generation capacity as far as energy is concerned and how factories are beginning to produce as a result of that, we will remember him like we remember Nkrumah today, that this indeed was a wise leader who laid the right foundations. But for me, generally, as a member of parliament, I will be looking forward, for example, to help my colleagues in government, for us to ensure that we create jobs for all, like they have promised. I will want to support that cause. I'll be looking forward to help my colleagues in government for us to ensure that we provide the one dam, one village, that we provide the one factory for every district. I'll be looking forward to help them so that we can all get the $1 million for our constituencies.
Yeah.
I'll be looking forward to help my colleagues so that, you see, we reduce the corporate tax. We reduce the corporate tax from about 25% to 20%.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to working with them. But generally, at my constituency, I want to salute all the people in Tamale North. I want to thank the leaders, the chiefs, the clerics, and the youth and women especially for their support for me. And I just want to assure them that, like I have started and have come to be known as someone who champions development, to the best of my ability under the circumstance, I'll continue to lobby the right kind of development that they need. I'll continue those that I have already started and have the capacity to continue with, and I will continue to be that inspiration and motivation for our youth.
And Nana is giving an indirect warning that if your motivation for entering into politics and wanting to be part of my government, although he might appoint you, it's money, you have to be careful. He will come for you. What I mean is that he wouldn't hesitate to prosecute you. You might think this is flimsy, but someone go like, hey, wait a minute. If you have a leader talking like this, I might reconsider my agitation to get a position.
Still staying on this, but in a different context, it's exactly a week Ghanaians went to the polls to elect a new leader, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as president. John Ejisu Matilda Womega brings you a catalogue of events before, during, and after the polls.
November 7 or December 7, Parliament rejected calls for polls to be conducted on November 7. The Electoral Commission had no choice than to prepare towards the statutory December 7 date. Faced with multiple legal suits days to the polls, concerns were raised as to whether or not a successful election will be conducted. This follows the disqualification of 13 presidential candidates by the Electoral Commission. It took the intervention of the Supreme Court to avert any form of delays and disruption to the electoral process. Political parties geared up their last-minute rounds activities to make way for the 7th election of the Republic. Local and international observers took their place to monitor the process, hoping that Ghana reaffirms her reputation as a model of democracy on the continent. EC Chair Charlotte Osei assured all was set for the elections to take place. This assurance came at the back of several concerns raised following the special voting exercise.
As a commission, it is our job to run elections and to get people to vote. It is not in our interest to deny anyone the right to exercise their franchise. And so the challenges that were encountered, yes, they could have been avoided, but they were not intentional, and they were not intended to deny anyone of the right to vote. We are happy to announce that in spite of the challenges, there was an 80% turnout in the special voting exercise. And this is consistent with the turnout numbers we're expecting in this year's election. Now to the elections tomorrow. We are expecting a total voting population of 15,712,449 voters. 499 voters. Voting will take place at 28,992 polling stations in 275 constituencies across the country. We are deploying about 148,000 election officials to conduct the polls and to manage the collation centers. We are receiving support from about 64,000 security personnel to ensure a safe and peaceful environment for all voters to exercise their franchise freely and without intimidation. There will be a total of 70,709 biometric verification devices that use at the polling stations. There will be 2 BVDs per polling station with sufficient backups at the district offices to deal with any unexpected challenges with any of the devices.
The race was expected to be tight between the incumbent John Dramani Mahama and the opposition leader Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Voters began lining up at polling stations before dawn on Wednesday to elect parliamentarians and the next president. From the 275 constituencies in the 10 regions of the country, news reports on the exercise trickled in when the polls opened at 7 a.m. Very little and isolated incidences was reported across the 275 constituencies. From one press conference to the other, all election observers, security agencies, calmed the nerves of Ghanaians who waited anxiously to know the outcome of the polls. From commanding lead to a comfortable lead and cruising to victory, the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress declared themselves winners. From commanding lead to in a comfortable lead and cruising to victory, the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress declared themselves winners.
The country, 80% have reported their results, and we are confident that the remaining 20% cannot overturn any. So I am telling you on authority, from the pink sheets obtained from the polling stations, is that this is where the results declared at the polling stations, collated together on our own para collation sheets, para vote tabulation, leads the election to. And we think it's about time that we call on our opponents to concede and congratulate.
We have invited you here this morning to react to a press statement, a press conference that was addressed by the campaign chairman of the MPP a few hours ago. Ignore that press conference because our total tally of votes show a comfortable lead for President John Dramani Mahama. But we will wait for the Electoral Commission as the law mandates and in line with our decisions at IPAC for the declaration of the results to be done by that legitimate body.
The pressure then started mounting on the Electoral Commission to declare results of the polls. From reports of overvoting and hacking of the Electoral Commission's website, the EC announced the results.
Elections, the total votes cast was 10,781,609. Out of those, we had rejected ballots of 166,248, which is 1.54%. We had total valid votes of 10,615,361. Our turnout was 68.62%. Now, for the candidates, Mr. Ivor Kobina Greenstreet of the CPP had 25,395 votes, being 0.24%. Mrs. Nana Konedu Ajiman Rawlings of the NDP had 16,878 votes, being 0.16%. Mr. John Dramani Mahama of the NDC had 4,713,277 votes, being 44.40%. Dr. Papa Kwesi of the PPP had 105,682 votes, being 1%. Mr. Nana Akufo-Addo of the New Patriotic Party had 5,716,026 votes, being 53.85%. Mr. Edward Mahama of the PNC had 22,214 votes, being 0.21%. And Mr. Jacob Osei-Yeboah, an independent candidate, had 15,889 votes, being 0.15%. On the basis of the foregoing figures, and by the power vested in me as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and the returning officer for the presidential election, it is my duty and my privilege to declare Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as the President-elect of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation greater and stronger.
From calls to concede, official declaration of winners to victory speech, Ghanaians once again proved to the world that it is indeed a beacon of democracy in the sub-region. For Joy News, Matilda Pamagan.
And you're still here on News Desk. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll bring you more stories. Welcome back to News Desk. Now, international relations expert Vladimir Danso says the decision of the Gambia's President Yahya Jammeh not to step down after initially conceding defeat in the December 1 elections is bad for the country. Yahya Jammeh was defeated by real estate businessman Adama Barrow after 22 years of rule. He initially conceded defeat, but later said he was no longer accepting the results, citing voting irregularities. His opponent and the U.S. have condemned his turnaround. Speaking to Roland Walker on the AM show today, Mr. Danso also asked the ECOWAS High Delegation to the Gambia to be stern in enforcing the right thing.
People applauded him and applauded democracy. That one of the persons whose tenure of office has been fraught with all kinds of inconsistencies and things like that should accept defeat was kind of good news for the world. Then all of a sudden, I think fearing the unknown, fearing what would happen if he handed over power, he decided to go into this kind of position. It's very unfortunate. But the bottom line was I think the opposition, so angry with what had happened over the past 22 years, made some remarks. One of them in London made a remark about how he would be interested in taking Yahya Jammeh to the ICC. Things don't work that way. I mean, the opposition could not just hand him over to the ICC. But then I think one of the things that informed his decision might be the fear that he will be persecuted, even though Mr. Barrow had assured him that there was not going to be any kind of vengeance politics and that he would put anything like that at the back burner and concentrate on building the economy and bringing reconciliation. So it's something that was very least expected.
Because that leads me to my next question. What should have been the posture of the opposition then, knowing that you haven't yet been handed over power or having not been sworn into office?
In actual fact, the opposition did nothing wrong.
For such a person who has ruled the country for the last 22 years, it also means that whatever it is that will be an agreement before he leaves will have to be binding. How binding will those be?
Well, in terms of criminality, there is no statute of limitation. And so, like Charles Taylor, there was a binding agreement for the way Charles Taylor was treated in international law was not proper. But then even though those agreements were very binding and that he would have lived in Nigeria for whatever it is, at any point in time, any person could raise opposition to A or B, like Hissni Habre, who has finally been tried in Senegal. So the opposition should have the biggest of patience. In most places like this, like Zimbabwe or Compaorés, Burkina Faso, and we need to have the patience and allow transition a smooth one in which innocent lives will not be lost.
How should the sub-regional body ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, be dealing with this? We know they've sent 2 emissaries there already.
They should be resilient. They should be relentless in their quest for Yahya Jammeh to hand over power. Because if they don't succeed, we shall have created a certain monster there. We shall have created a situation where people can emulate and things like that. So I believe we should be relentless. We should, get what Yahya Jammeh has done amounts to a coup d'etat. And so the protocol on governance and change of government and that sort of thing should be, applied to the letter. One of the things we researchers are looking at is the question of transitions. We are also looking at the consolidation of democracy. And unfortunately, our methodology for trying to cement democracy and or crystallize democracy have all been wrong. There is war, for example, in Sierra Leone and Liberia, and you ask people to go to the polls to go and vote because democracy means voting and electing somebody. Wrong. Very, very wrong. And so we saw that Chancellor won 75% of the total votes cast. And that's a popular vote. But what happened? Just a year into his rule, more civil war. In Sierra Leone, the same thing. Several places where there is war, we are asking for a vote. In Syria, the United Nations is asking for whatever it is. That is wrong. And so we have observed that if you don't handle transitions very well, if you don't bargain, if you don't exit the status, there is bound to be that kind of chaos.
President-elect Nana Addo Akufo-Addo is expected in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, to mark the Ewuku Diet there. And ahead of his visit, we've been speaking to some residents to find out their expectations.
I'm aware that he's coming, and by God's grace, he has done well, and Ghanaians has voted for him. So we expect him to do well. We expect him to do what he has for us. So we know that he will do well, and by God's grace, he will do what he has said to us.
I know you have a lot of things in your mind, and if you have the opportunity to meet the president-elect today, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to what he said to Ghanaians, that he will bring one district, one factory, one village, one dam. I expect him to fulfill his promise. I will personally tell him to fulfill what he told Ghanaians during his campaign.
I can see that you are very excited.
Yeah, about the way Nana will be in Kumasi. Yeah. His appearance will be something happy to be in Kumasi here. Yeah.
This election was about Kumasi, and we, the people of Kumasi, fought for Nanado. So Nana is here to say thank you. We expect him to be at Mensia. From there, he will be going to a central market. So we welcome.
Anything you expect from him?
Yeah. I know and I believe the promises that he made when going tour, when on his rallies and other. Nana will be able to deliver and make Ghana proud. And
he just won the election, and we are very happy to receive in Ghana, in Kumasi, so that everybody in this area will be happy for him.
And so when you have the opportunity to meet him today, to speak to him one-on-one, what will you tell him?
I'll tell him congrats and God richly bless him. He should do the work very good and God will lead him to it.
And Emmanuel Abwajiriafe will join us shortly.